All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to you, sincere, hopeful, elect Akim, pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai in spirit and in truth. My Rabbi Allah, that is to say, 144,000 in the Lashawan Kodash. All right, that's what we are striving to be a part of. Um, Getting into this lesson, as you can see from the title, it says these 40 U.S. airports may face flight cuts due to government shutdown. All right, and this is from BBC.com, which is a news um, company out in the UK. All right. Um, Now we've been saying it for a long time that the Lord is gonna put a halt to all this stuff. All right, people moving around like ants. All right, you look at a colony of ants, you just see a bunch of little creatures just moving around. All right, taking care of business. Okay, that's how if you had a an aerial view, of Earth. All right, all these airplanes moving around and buses and trains and vehicles and all that. It's people just going to and fro, naval ships or just cruise liners or whatever the case may be. People just moving around, okay? Which, the earth was created to be, explored, so to say, to a certain degree, all right? Enjoyed. But under Esau's rule, people is just uh, uh, moving around with no purpose, all right? Especially the Israelite woman, all right? Uh, Gadding abroad to and fro, doing wickedness, man. All right, so as you see here, it says U.S. officials have begun axing the number of flights at 40 of the country's biggest airports, resulting in thousands of canceled flights in the mandate's first day as they try to ease pressure on air traffic controllers. Control tower, control towers at airports have been grappling with absences of air traffic controllers who are calling out sick or taking side jobs as they work without pay during the federal government shutdown. Altogether, hundreds of thousands of federal workers are not being paid because lawmakers have not been able to pass a budget. On Wednesday, the funding impasse became the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The Federal Aviation Administration on Thursday formally announced the list of airports where flights will be canceled. The cuts won't apply to international flights, but specific airlines may choose to also cancel some of those flights to the FAA said. The fallout began Friday and created chaos at airports across the country as panicked travelers awaiting updates on their flights, more than 5,000 of which were canceled or face hours long delays. Okay, now I'm gonna jump down. Let me get to the list of these airports. All right. So once again, due to the condition of this country, being that the government has shut down, you got uh, these airport companies and airports that really think these air traffic controllers is supposed to work, without getting paid. Some said fuck it and took side jobs. They're not getting paid as much money as they get paid being an air traffic controller, but at least that's something that can cover bills and pay rent or whatnot. Okay, now all these things is happening on purpose, uh, because like the apostles, especially as Apostle Tahar says, there's another so-called pandemic coming. You know, in which everybody's gonna have to be sat down during this pandemic. This next one that comes, okay, and that's what's gonna usher in this new system. Okay, so everything is being set up, man. Esau doesn't do anything without it being planned out and orchestrated. All right, so here's the full list. All right, so Anchorage International, Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International, Boston Logan International, Baltimore/Washington International, Charlotte Douglas International, Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International, Dallas Love Field, Ronald Reagan Washington National, Denver International, and Colorado, Dallas Fort Worth International, Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County, Newark Liberty International, Fort Lauderdale/Hollywood International, Honolulu International, Houston Hobby, Washington Dulles International, George Bush Houston International, Indianapolis International, New York John F. Kennedy International, Las Vegas Harry Reid International, Los Angeles International, New York LaGuardia, Orlando International, Chicago Midway, Memphis International, Miami International, Minneapolis St. Paul International, Oakland International, Ontario International in California, Chicago O'Hare International, Portland International, Philly, Philadelphia International, Phoenix Sky Harbor International, San Diego International, Louisville International, Seattle/Tacoma International, San Francisco International, Salt Lake City International, Teterboro in New Jersey, and Tampa International. So these is all the airports that are going to be canceling domestic flights as a result of staffing shortages. All right, air traffic controller shortages, being that they're not getting paid. All right. Um. So this is all prophecy, man. Okay, this is all prophecy. So let me grab this real quick here in Jeremiah 51, because there's 2 points that I want to make pertaining to people here in Babylon in particular, realizing that these flights is canceled. You know, because right now, like I said, it's domestic, but eventually it's gonna turn international, and you got a lot of heathen that are here illegally, that are here even legally. Um, but when things start to get worse, they gonna realize, like, yeah, let's get up out of here, man. Let's go back to India. Let's go back to China. Let's go back to whatever country in Africa. Let's go back to Europe. Let's go back to Australia. Whatever country they came from, they're gonna realize they got a better chance of survival, or they got family back home, or um, you know, a more stable life that they could be living back in their native country, versus struggling here in America. All right, getting caught up in a civil war. Okay, uh, not receiving a paycheck, not having a job. You know, when back home they can be around family members. They got a farm, or they got cattle. Got a for sure roof over their head. Got their own land. Okay, they live off the land. That's the conditions that a lot of these immigrants You know, there might be second generation, third generation, first generation immigrants over here, whether it's legal or illegal. That's the conditions that their family back home, live in, and with that, that's more stable than what conditions they're gonna have to face here in America here very soon. Okay, so this is Jeremiah 51:6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for there is for this is a time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." So the time is coming when the Lord is gonna destroy this place ultimately. All right, just like it says in Revelation 11. Not Revelation 11, Revelation 18. Excuse me. It mentions render her unto her double. Okay, so that double is gonna be thermonuclear destruction. All right, so the way we flee out of the midst of Babylon is, us hopeful elect. As an Israelite, you come out of the fashion and the lifestyle and the ways of the Babylonian ways. All right, you don't have your spirit caught up into this madness here in Babylon. All right, you turn to Yahweh Shem Shai. You serve and do the will of Yahweh Shem Shai, despite you being in captivity. All right, but these other nations, they gonna physically get the fuck up out of here if they can. All right, part of my language. Verse 7, it says, "Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad." And we see that currently these nations is mad, man. All right. They are, they wasn't heavily intoxicated with, the philosophies and the doctrines of Babylon. All right. So halal, that word for mad, 1984, Hebrew 1984, halal. It says to shine. Actually, let me jump down to the Strong's definitions. It says halal, a primitive root to be clear, of sound, but usually of color, to shine, hence to make a show, to boast, and thus to be clamorously foolish, to rave. All right, so the philosophies that these nations don't consumed by way of Esau, all right, made them bugged out. All right, just like somebody that's not really a drinker, you get them drunk, they gonna act an ass. Okay, they gonna act an ass, be all clamorous, be acting like a fool, to be like a madman. All right, it says causatively to celebrate, also to stultify. All right, make boast, self, celebrate, commend, deal, make, fool, foolishly, glory, give, light, to make, feign self, mad, against, giving marriage, seeing, be worthy of, praise, rage, renown, shine. All right, so these nations are, see here down at the bottom, it says to act madly, act like a madman. Okay, to make a fool of, make into a fool. All right. So the Esau has turned these nations into fools, man. As a result of that wine, that the philosophies and doctrines, and all that these nations consumed by way of adhering to Esau, and now they're mad, man. All right, they're waking up from that intoxication, but damage has been done, which is why ultimately they're gonna go to war, World War III. Okay. Um, verse and then it also mentions that Babylon itself was that golden cup. All right. So it was the 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 ideal country, all right, for the world to mimic. But that influence and decadence that America once had that's just gone, man. It's gone. All right. Verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. Okay, so ultimately this place is going to be utterly destroyed. And if there was um anything that could save America, it surely would be utilized. But there's nothing that can be actually done, to heal this place. All right, to turn this place into the golden age. All right, as Donald Trump said this was. Oh, this is the golden age. No bullshit. All right, that golden cup is no longer golden. All right, it was fool's gold. All right, it was fool's gold plated tungsten. All right, just like that gold that America tried to get over with, gold plated tungsten that they sent the Chinese or something like that some years ago, around 10 years ago, something like that. All right. Verse 9, it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Okay. So this place ain't gonna be healed, man. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. All right. So the point in this verse being, forsake her and let us go every one into his own country. All right. So with all these flights, once again, starting to be canceled domestically, eventually that's going to transfer into international flights being canceled as well. So with those international flights being canceled, these heathen, that their spirit ain't really invested in America. They here just milking a cash cow. They came here for work purposes or whatever. To make a quick buck, capitalism and all that. Once that option of being able to actually get up out of here starts to that door starts to be closed and eventually locked. They ain't, man. They gonna get up out of here. We'll let these people deal with this civil war and all that. At least when I go back to my own country, everybody look like me. That's gonna be the mindset of a lot of these heathen, man. Okay, and they gonna get the hell up out of here. Second Ezra 15, excuse me, in verse 14 it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." All right, so destruction is coming to the planet. All right, the whole planet ain't gonna be destroyed, but this whole planet, you gonna know it's a terrible time on earth. Okay, verse 15 it says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Okay, it says, "For there shall be sedition among many men, among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." All right, so it's gonna be a civil war. All right, the citizens is gonna be going to war against the government officials, police, the mayors, congressmen, senators, um, police, all that, man. You know, these people is gonna take their frustrations out on the people that's in authority, knowing that they're the ones that's been doing them greasy all these years. All right, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, these are certain militia groups that's gonna link up. You know, got weaponry and all that. Okay. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, so this is going to affect, all right, those airports canceling flights. You know, it's going to affect things domestically and internationally. All right, not to mention, on top of the cancellation of flights, you know, you can have somebody that, you know, needs to go to Boston. You know, all right, they can be on the West Coast, need to go to Boston, need to take a flight to Boston, and can't even do it. You know what I'm saying? To get back home, that's where home is, but they can't even get back home to Boston because the flights is canceled. All right, and then on top of that, they might want to. All right, we're gonna drive. Well, no, you can't rent no car. All right, and even if you have a vehicle of your own, you know, there's all kind of checkpoints and highways cut off. Man, it's gonna be terrible out here, man. You know, it's gonna be terrible. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. You know, and this goes on, it continues, but, you know, that serves the purpose of the video. You know, it's going to be real bad out here, man, and you know, ain't nothing going to be guaranteed for these people. All right? Food ain't even guaranteed no more. You know, your next meal is not even is not guaranteed. All right, these people's been used to guarantees in their life. All right, but that shit's being cut off because of their pride. All right, the pride of these people. So you know, that pretty much concludes the lesson. Alvarado made the point, and this was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom.